Leveling up literacy. What Overcooked 2 can teach us about learning. Hello, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Misty, a credentialed teacher with over 20 years of experience in second language acquisition, mathematics, and elementary education. Through teaching, coaching, and tutoring, I've dedicated my career to helping students, parents, and educators understand the science behind how we learn. This episode is inspired by posts I have been making since 2018 in online forums, which helped lay the groundwork for what is now known as the science of reading. Many of the key ideas that Emily Hanford later presented as her research were already being discussed and shared by me in these forums before she brought them to a wider audience. It's gratifying to see that the techniques I've been refining for over 20 years are now being embraced across America. Her voice played a crucial role in raising awareness and bringing these ideas into the mainstream. Today, we're diving into the topic, what it really takes to become a skilled reader. And we're using the game Overcooked 2 to explain how mastering reading is a lot like progressing through a game. Each level in reading, just like in Overcooked, requires specific skills. If you skip a step, the whole system breaks down. That's where testing comes in. Not to punish, but to ensure we're truly ready for what comes next. Section 1. Foundational reading is basic game skills. In Overcooked 2, each level starts by teaching the basics, like cooking rice, chopping ingredients, and plating food in the correct order. If you miss one of these steps, everything falls apart. For example, in a sushi making level, if you try to serve a plate of sushi without cooking the rice first, you will run into trouble. The game teaches us that every step must be mastered before moving on to the next. Rushing through or skipping foundational skills makes the whole process much harder. In the same way, the science of reading, as I outlined back in 2018, follows a clear progression: phonemic awareness, phonics, and blending. Trying to blend sounds without mastering phonics is like trying to serve a sushi dish with raw rice. It doesn't work. And if you attempt to serve it that way, the whole dish falls apart. In Overcooked 2, you cannot serve that dish. It is incomplete. The game will register an error and the order will be marked as failed. Similarly, skipping foundational steps in reading leads to failure later on. Without each step in place, nothing comes together as it should. Testing at this stage isn't about high stakes and being unfairly prohibitive in learning to read. It's a checkpoint to ensure the basic ingredients are there so that the person can use these skills for more complex tasks in the future. Section 2. What happens when you play out of order? In Overcooked 2, there's a mode where you can jump into any level regardless of where you are in the game's progression. You can join your friends and start playing at any level, even if you haven't mastered the earlier ones. Imagine jumping into a sushi making level without knowing how to boil rice or chop vegetables properly. Without these basic skills, you won't be able to hit your targets and chaos follows. You might try to serve raw rice or deliver incomplete dishes, but the game won't let you get away with it. Everything falls apart, the orders fail, and frustration sets in. This is exactly what happens in reading when students skip foundational steps like phonemic awareness and phonics. Without these essential skills in place, blending sounds to read words becomes much harder. Just like in the game, if you try to jump into advanced tasks before mastering the basics, it's bound to lead to failure. This is exactly what happens in classrooms when students move ahead without mastering basic skills like decoding in K through second grade. By the time they reach third grade, they're expected to read fluently, understand complex texts, and handle long passages, sometimes with over 1,000 words in them. But if they haven't mastered foundational skills like decoding, it's like being at a high level in Overcooked 2 sushi station when you're trying to plate sushi orders without the efficiency or speed needed. At higher levels, the number of sushi orders or words increases. And if you haven't practiced the foundational steps, chopping, boiling, etc., The whole process becomes chaotic and much harder to manage. Without the right skills in place, it's impossible to meet the demand of a more complex reading task. The science of reading progression is cumulative. Phonemic awareness, phonics, decoding, fluency. Each skill builds on the last. Testing ensures that we don't move ahead before we're ready. It's not about slowing kids down. It's about preventing frustration later. While we're in the learning phase, we are often frustrated. After all, when we are learning, we are still not very skilled yet. Lifelong learning through hard work with a positive attitude and integrity. Section 3. Accountability through testing. Skills checks matter whether you're in a fast-paced game or in a classroom. You need to know if you're ready for what comes next. That's where testing comes in, not as a punishment, but as a checkpoint. In Overcooked 2, you can skip ahead to any level, but just because you can doesn't mean you're prepared. Without those early rounds, you're missing the basics, and when the heat turns up, the kitchen falls apart. Testing in school should work the same way, not to stop students, but to make sure that they're ready for what comes next. The key is alignment. A test should measure the skills it's supposed to check. Unfortunately, many tests do not align with actual skills. A student might be labeled on grade level, but still struggle with decoding or fluency. If a test isn't aligned with the instruction, it can't be a guide to learning, and it can't help the students. Unrealistic benchmarks can also make things worse. Take oral reading fluency, for example. A goal like 220 words per minute might sound impressive, but it's far beyond what most fluent readers ever do. High-speed targets don't build better readers. They just create more pressure and frustration. Reading is a complex human skill, and testing should reflect what a real student can reasonably achieve. Standards should set a minimum bar for competence, not demand a nearly impossible superhuman performance. When assessments are clear, focused, and well aligned, they do what they are meant to do. Catch small problems before they become big ones. Just like in Overcooked 2, you want to notice the rice is burning before the whole kitchen goes up in flames. Accountability isn't about blame, it's about readiness. The right kind of testing helps students move forward with confidence, step by step, level by level. Section 4. Watching versus doing. Watching someone play Overcooked 2 might give you a sense of strategy, but it won't make you a better player at the game. You don't improve by observing. You improve by picking up the controller and putting in the time. Skills come from doing, not just watching. The same is true for reading. Listening to someone else read can model fluency, but it's not the same as reading yourself. Kids don't learn to read by being read to. They learn by reading. To become readers, they need to sound out words, blend the sounds, practice until fluency develops. It doesn't work the other way around. You can't start with fluency and hope decoding shows up later. But that's exactly what happens in many classrooms. Instead of teaching students how to break words apart and blend sounds together, they're asked to memorize sight words, hundreds and hundreds of them. But that's not how the human brain learns to read. Relying on memory alone isn't sustainable, and it doesn't equip students to tackle new words. Without decoding, reading breaks down. Support from teachers, parents, or peers can help, but no one can do the reading for them. Just like no one can play the game for you and still make you better, no one can build your skills without your own effort. Accountability for personal progress matters. A student's growth depends on what they themselves can do, not what someone else does on their behalf. Learning to read takes time, and most of the time comes from practice beyond the classroom. Class time is where new ideas are introduced, but mastery comes from repetition, not exposure alone. Just like with games, real progress happens between the lessons during independent effort. Observation has value, but real skills only develop through action. In Overcooked 2, no one gets better by sitting on the sidelines. The same is true for reading. Section 5, Final Boss, Reading to Learn. Every game builds towards a final boss, the ultimate test of everything you've practiced in the game up until that point. In Overcooked 2, that means moving platforms, complex recipes, and switching between multiple kitchens under pressure. You can't beat it unless you have all the earlier skills in place and they're automatic. Reading works the same way. By fourth grade, students face their own final boss, reading across all subject areas. It's no longer just storybooks. It's science articles, social studies chapters, math word problems, technical instructions, and unfamiliar vocabulary. They're expected to read it all fluently, even when the content is brand new. This is where many students hit a wall. They seemed fine in the earlier grades when the texts were simple and predictable, but now there are no shortcuts. Any missteps in phonics, decoding, or fluency start to show. Every weak skill becomes a slowdown. Often, what looks like a reading comprehension issue is really a decoding or fluency problem that has been hiding in plain sight for years. That's why regular skills-specific assessments matter. If you wait until the final level to find out if Claire hasn't mastered the basics, it's too late. But if you check skills along the way with short, targeted assessments, you can catch issues early when they are still relatively easy to fix. Video games do this well. They break big challenges into smaller levels and let players build confidence before the stakes get high. You don't beat the boss on your first try. You beat it because every piece of the game has been practiced, mastered, and made automatic. Reading across subjects is no different. The final challenge isn't about tricks. It's about whether the foundation is strong. Practical tips and resources. In upcoming episodes, we'll explore practical strategies for effective reading instruction. But if you're eager to get started now, check out my Learn to Read and Write Teacher's Manuals, Volumes 1 and 2, and the Student Learn to Read and Write Journal. These resources offer a clear, systematic path for teaching letter recognition, phonics, and blending. It's like having your very own step-by-step guide for reading instruction. Now, back to the conclusion. Skills must be learned, and real progress comes from practice, not pretending. Just like in Overcooked 2, success only comes from every player knowing their role and mastering the basics. Reading works the same way. Problems can't be fixed at the final boss level. They need to be identified and addressed early before they become overwhelming. By fourth grade, students face their final boss, reading across all subject areas, from science and social studies to math and technical instructions. This challenge demands fluent, automatic skills built on a solid foundation. What often looks like a comprehension problem is actually a gap in basic decoding or fluency that's been hiding all along. Testing plays a crucial role as a checkpoint to ensure foundational skills are in place. Without regular, targeted assessments, students can fall behind unnoticed, making it much harder to catch up later. Skipping these checks only leads to bigger struggles down the road. Effective reading instruction depends on assessments that align with what is taught, frequent skills checks to guide instruction, and ongoing practice. Just like beating the final boss in a game, reading successfully isn't about luck. It's earned through relentless preparation, steady progress, and a mastering of essential skills. If you found this discussion helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And as always, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep exploring the fascinating world of education. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode.